Well, okay, we're going to roll right into the Garcia interview here.
And I mentioned it there that it'd be at 9:30 in the morning, and people are calling saying, well, what's happening anyway? Where's Jerry Garcia?
I didn't find out about it until exactly 10 o'clock.
Oh, no, you're kidding. They didn't tell you?
No.
Oh, because we were going to do it yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't happen yesterday, and so then we set it up for today at 9:30. But I'm sorry, Rock was supposed to tell you, and I thought you knew.
No, it's, well.
Anyway, I'm glad you're coming up to play in the area.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We had a lot of people who actually called me and wanted to have me ask you a couple of questions. And,
okay.
But I want to ask you a couple of my own first, because we've been here with KVRE. Gosh, I've had KVRE now for 4 years, and I mean, I've never seen people so devoted to you. I mean, people actually really worship you. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Except maybe for John Lennon. They worship John Lennon the same way.
Yeah.
But I've really never seen that devotion in people, fans of yours. And I was just wondering what it is in you they worship.
God, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. Except that maybe all I can say is that I understand where they're at, because I guess I sort of have some kind of similar devotion to music, to just playing, and I mean, for me, that's what's happening. I can't think what else. It certainly isn't. There's nothing special about me, certainly, but I really like to play, and for me, the thing of playing and having a good band and all that is just a special thing.
It's very special.
And playing for people, just that it's I don't know. It's something that's very important for me. And you know what it sort of has to do with. I mean, I can't really relate to why people are fans of mine, but I know what it's like to be a fan of somebody else's. And for me, being a fan, being in an audience and hearing somebody play really well, those moments have been some of the best moments for me in my life.
What would be one that you could relate to? What experience in music did you hear that you felt that way?
I used to go and see. There used to be this great bluegrass fiddle player named Scotty Stoneman, who died quite a long time ago. I used to go and see, typically, I mean, he would be playing in L.A. and I would drive down from San Francisco to see him. That would be more or less normal. So that thing of going a long way to hear somebody play,
Uh-huh.
And I remember just listening to him play, just thinking it was the most amazing thing I'd ever heard, And
That's pure music, and you are really an excellent guitarist. I mean, you really have a style like I haven't heard anyone ever have before. It's not rock and roll. If anything, I think maybe there's more roll than rock. You roll
right.
You roll your guitar licks, and they have a very large circle, when they roll too.
Yeah, right.
But is that something you developed consciously, or it seems to be so unique to you?
Yeah, well, it really is just my concept of what music is, I mean, I don't really know where it came from, except that it's what I think music is,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just a product of everything I've ever heard, and everything I've ever liked.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, because I know that as a player, I play, I try to play what I would like to hear, in the sense of that I'm sort of thinking of in terms of what, if I were in the audience, what would I like to be hearing,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that space. That's where my playing sort of draws on that.
Do you think that's where the communication between you and the audience comes in? Do you think you really are actually feeling what they want to hear and be?
There is a certain amount of communication, but it happens on subtle levels. I mean, it's not an obvious thing at all, but I know that it exists mostly because of reports,
Mm-hmm.
That is to say that I've had so many reports of people telling me about how they feel about my playing that I can't think them wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that. It's kind of a thing of where I just have gained enough evidence over the years to feel that there's communication going on at some subtle levels there that doesn't have anything to do with like conscious will or any of that kind of stuff. It happens at a subtler level than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to sort of trust it. It isn't an obvious thing, and it isn't something that I can go on stage and say, well, right now I'm making this happen, or
mm-hmm.
Right, I'm communicating with the audience or something like that. It isn't a kind of a general faith in or something.
A part of yourself is, and but you seem to be in tune with that part of yourself very well, though. Do you work on that?
It's been a learning process for sure, but again, it isn't. It's one of those things you sort of have to let it happen rather than it's not something you can make happen. You know what I mean?
Well, your music conveys that even in its lyrics too, about the flow, and letting it go.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things I believe, So I guess my selection in terms of songs and the things I like and stuff like that sort of lead in that direction.
Your last album, this Run for the Roses, is an interesting album. Of course, the first thing you do when you get an album, you look at the album cover. You see the dinosaurs. Were they brontosauruses?
Yeah.
Brontosaurus is being ridden by a woman jockey.
Right.
Running around the race course, and one actually having one with, the wreath of roses on it. Did you have any say in the concept of that?
Well, not really. I mean, that is to say that the Run for the Roses thing, I'm funny about stuff like that. Like Run for the Roses, that lyric, the Hunter wrote the lyric, so I can't claim responsibility for it. But it's one of those things where I put the song together. I mean, I started working on the song and put it together and really it was a finished song before I ever realized that that Run for the Roses thing is about the Kentucky Derby, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's where that slogan comes from. It's just one of those things I think it resonates. Oh yeah, I've heard that somewhere. What the heck is that? I mean, I never put it together really. And then it was the artist really, Vic Moscoso, who saw that idea,
You've been running for the Roses for, gosh, how many years now? 20?
Quite a long time.
20?
I guess somewhere about 17, 18 years maybe, I don't know.
And it's amazing, that all the changes and everything coming and going, and here you are, heading into 83, new music, new album. How do you feel about your music in 83 and where it's going to go with you?
For me, it feels just like I'm still getting started,
Uh-huh.
It's still, things feel very fresh to me, and when I think in terms of the time that's gone by subjectively, I mean, it really, I don't feel that the weight of years that seems to suggest, I mean, the idea of 18 years, it sounds like a long time, but the experience of having gone through it doesn't, I mean, it still feels to me very much like I'm just getting started at something,
Really? But then don't you ever get to the point where don't you ever feel like you'd like the wreath of roses, and say, hey, that's the racer? Would you really?
God, no! I think I'd hate that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'd hate to if all of a sudden, I mean, I woke up in the morning and somebody said, well, that's it, this is as far as you go,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, one of the things about music that makes it really fascinating is that it's ongoing, and that there's still, for me, the learning part of it is still the most interesting part of it, really.
So is that what keeps you excited?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, that's a large part of it, sure.
Mm-hmm. And you've been able to maintain your own quality and your own standards well, I'm sure you've had to deal with a lot of record companies and what they think is right and what's commercial, and obviously you must have to listen to that to some degree.
Well, to a certain extent, but I've been successfully able to ignore it pretty well.
Mm-hmm. And do it in your own style, obviously. But it seems still, listening to your music on the albums and what I hear you play in concerts, that you seem to play more R&B in concerts.
That's true.
Than you do on the record albums. Is there any reason for that?
Well, mostly because of albums are kind of like, albums are not, are kind of, for me an album is kind of telescoped in time in a funny way, it doesn't really represent my taste at any one moment, it really, it's as though I'm freezing, say 5 or 6 years worth of thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
about music or about things I might like to try to do or something like that, and I'm trying to take all of the peaks that are most different from each other
mm-hmm.
and put together a show that has maximum variety. When I make a record, I think more in terms of variety than I do in terms of say making some statement about myself musically. You know what I mean?
You seem like in this last album, I was looking at it, and we play a lot of it here at KVRE, but it seems like it has to do a lot with women. Well, except for a couple, knocking on heaven's door. But it seems like it's involved in relationships more. Is there any particular drift to that?
Well, it's one of those things that as far as songs and singing goes, I felt more comfortable in singing songs about that, the world of relationships. For me, it's one of those things very hard for me to sing songs about certain things because I don't feel really comfortable doing them,
Mm-hmm.
So those songs that are personal, more personal, is something kind of new to me in terms of being comfortable as a singer, dealing with them. And I would say that that's also that the album. I think of an album also as I concentrate more on myself as a singer than I do on myself as an instrumentalist. Where in my concerts, I mean, I'm there to have fun, which means that I put probably a little more energy into playing than I do into singing. You know, so there's that too.
You ever, I was talking with Phil Caffel about your music, and he was talking about, you're going to try to get an album together, and the Dead album should be started in August. I guess you've been talking about doing the new Dead album for about a year now, right?
Right, but we've been waiting to see what Arista's going to do, and all kinds of other things, you know.
But would you have to wait to go in the studio till you find out from them? Is that the delay?
Yeah, sort of in a way. Well, it just isn't. It's one of those things where it really isn't worth our while, you know, to go to the studio and work, not knowing where the record company is at. The record company has been getting very fuzzy in this last year, say.
Bless you. The Arista, of course, Clive Davis is. You've been with them, what, 3 or 4 albums?
Yeah.
And you've been able to survive there, but of course the record company's been cutting back. Chrysalis Records changing their situation, and you have to kind of put yourself on hold then till you figure out what they figure out what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, This is, in any case, this record will be our last for Arista if we make it for Arista. You know.
Yeah. You know, trying to capture. We did the Grateful Dead film last night and showed it, and trying to capture the spirit of those concerts, trying to capture the communication and the magic, I guess it comes right down to. Trying to capture the magic on an album is a difficult thing. Of course, you put out a lot of live albums.
Right, but it really doesn't do it, you know. I don't know why. I mean, we've tried everything. It's because there is... partly it's because just the nature of the experience is one of those things where you kind of have to be there, you know. And I doubt that can translate very well, except sort of metaphorically, like the film sort of metaphorically, you know, makes that statement. But it was one of those things where it had to be. I worked on the film for two and a half years, and it took a lot, really, of fooling around with it to get it to have the right feel. And
that was back in '74 when there wasn't that many films being done in the concert scenes.
That's right.
And now it's pretty common. What do you think about the video?
I love it.
Do you like it?
Oh, I like it a lot.
Because we've been wanting to get you up, you know, for tube works and different interviews, because I think you communicate real well on video as well, because, again, you know, the visual experience as well as the musical is a double impact, I think.
Right, I think it's real successful, and I like it a lot, and we're just waiting for the right associations, really, you know, for the right people to show up. And I think that'll probably happen because we've been sniffing around for quite a while now. But I am really impressed with that whole thing. I enjoy that MTV business, you know.
Great. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. There's a lot happening there. One of the listeners called wanted to know what you do for entertainment, what you do. I mean, they're kind of curious. You know, they know music's real important to you, but they just kind of wonder what you do to entertain yourself.
I do the same stuff that everybody else does, I guess. Well, I read a lot, for example. I watch a lot of TV, and I'm a movie freak, you know.
What's your favorite movie lately?
Oh, lately? I don't know. I don't really have a lately favorite, you know. I mean, I guess I'm a fan of like movies like everybody likes, you know. I mean, I'd have to say that the movie that I enjoyed the most lately has been E.T., you know. Yeah. But just like everybody else in that respect.
Right.
And that's, I mean, you know, that when I go to a movie, that's what I'm going for. I mean, I'm going to be entertained, you know, in exactly that sense, you know.
You've been living in Northern California for so long and so much a part of the whole area. What do you think about what's happening in the growth and the direction of what's going to be going on here? And do you plan to continue living in this area?
Oh yeah, this is where I'm from here, you know. This is home for me, you know. So whether this area experiences, you know, more or less activity in terms of the music business as a whole or whatever, you know, that isn't really relevant to me and to why I live here. I live here because this is where I'm from. But it does happen that the Bay Area and Northern California, generally speaking, is a very neat place musically.
Yeah, it is.
there's a lot of music here, and there's a lot of musicians here, and even though there isn't a lot of music business here, maybe that makes it better in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it keeps the business maybe element out of it, the pressure of that,
right,
of the wheels of the machine.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, you're right. I have to ask you because there's so many Grateful Dead fans, really, so many dedicated fans in Sonoma County, and the Dead have never played Sonoma County in anyone's memory anyway, and we've been wanting to get you to play up here for a long time.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like a little too close,
Mm-hmm.
And we've tried, for a long time we were trying to play up there at Sonoma State.
Well, the problems there.
Yeah, right.
But
that was the kind of stuff we run into,
I'd like to be able to have you come into the Sonoma County Fairgrounds.
Well, it might happen yet.
Because they've changed.
Actually, we have played at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds.
The Dead?
Yeah, but it was a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah, it was an awful long time ago. Back in the 60s, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, we've played, if you go back far enough, we've played just about everywhere.
Really? Well, I'd like to see you come back up and play at the fairgrounds in the 80s.
Well, it may happen. If it's put together properly and everything like that, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't. We've played down, for example, in Palo Alto, which is, about the same distance south as Sonoma is north.
Right, because people would be just so excited to be able to see you, play.
Oh, yeah, and we like that thing of having a new, relatively local facility to play in.
Well, there's new management now at the fairgrounds, and they're very open to music.
Oh, well.
They even listen to the radio station here.
Fantastic. Well, then it might very well be that in the future we'll play there.
I would love it. I really would love it. And I'm glad to see the Run for the Roses album out. That was how long in the making?
Well, I kind of, with my records, I kind of have to do them as sort of part-time projects, or in between time, because the Grateful Dead keeps me working and stuff. So really, that record I started about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I rarely get more than, say, a week and a half, 2 weeks of unbroken, uninterrupted time to work on a project that's my own. It's like the thing that receives last priority, sort of.
Well, it's selling well up here, The record is.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's selling well. You got, again, your devoted fans, and I'm sure we're going to be out there to see you tomorrow night. You're going to be doing anything different, the band tomorrow night? Or what do we have in store for us tomorrow night?
I really don't know. I can't tell you. I'm hoping it's going to be good. The band is hot right now.
Uh-huh.
So I know it's going to be I know I'm going to have a good time. Let me put it that way.
Is John Kahn playing?
So I hope everybody else does, too.
John Kahn?
That's all I can really say.
Is John Kahn playing with you?
Yeah.
And Mo Saunders isn't in this group, is he?
No, it's Melvin Seals is the keyboard player.
Uh-huh.
And Greg Arico is the drummer.
Uh-huh.
And I have 2 new girl singers who are real good.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we're excited about seeing it, and I want to thank you very much for talking with me.
Well, thank you very much.
And we'll be seeing you down there tomorrow night at the Phoenix Theater at 9 p.m.
Okay.
And hopefully the Grateful Dead in Sonoma County this year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for calling.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, nice talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's tonight, by the way. That conversation was yesterday morning, and Garcia will be at the Phoenix Theater at 9 p.m. tonight, and I guess it's time to find out what else is going on. It's time for the Entertainment Guide. That was a conversation with Jerry Garcia, and sorry for the distortion on the phone level. The phone level was a little hot on my end, but it was good to hear Garcia's part anyway, clearly.